everyone. Welcome to my channel. I'm Chandana Banerjee. I'm an artist, writer, micro business coach for women, and a homeschooling mom. And today I wanted to ask you a question. Now that the lockdown is going to get over, and once the coronavirus pandemic eases off, how do you plan to move forward? Do you want to go back to the same frenetic pace that you were at before all of this started? Or do you want to continue a bit of the slow lifestyle that we've all had over the past few weeks? This is a question I've been asking myself regularly now. Now, I'm not somebody who had a very frenetic or hectic lifestyle. I work from home and I homeschool my son at home, and I live at a military base at a very remote part of India. However, we do have a lot of social commitments and there's a lot of social to dos as a military spouse. So, yes, I would say that though my life was not hectic, it was very packed before this. And I've been asking myself again and again whether I want to go back to that kind of packed schedule, or I want to create more space and slow moments in my days. Now, this is something I think we all have to ask ourselves, right? Uh, once, let's say, we're all allowed to go out and go to malls and parties and socialize, do we really want to jump back onto that same boat? Because honestly, the way I see it, even if we've been at home for the past so many days, I don't seem to have missed out much. And maybe because I already had a home based lifestyle, but then I really don't miss the parties, the over socializing, the malls, or going to the movies, or even the parties. So, what about you? What are you thinking of? Because I think once the whole world slowed down during this time, I think we've all realized that that slowness has been healing for ourselves, for our families, for our relationships, and for all the wildlife and creatures living on this planet. On the whole, it's been healing for Mother Earth too. There are so many news reports of wild animals and creatures being spotted in places that one could even not think of seeing wild animals at. And in a way, I'm so glad for that. Because finally, I feel that we share this world with them as well. But as a human race, we've made it our zone. We've driven out every other creature from our zone and made it into this crazy, hectic, busy place. And we run our lives at such a busy pace without even stopping to think whether what we're doing is really worth it. And honestly, I don't think I missed out much. Some of the things once life starts getting back to normal that we can ponder about are: let's rethink our pace. Do we want to go back to the same kind of pace? The hectic, crazy, busy pace. Whenever you ask anybody, how are you? The answer that I always get from everybody is, I'm busy. I'm too busy. I'm crazy busy. Do we want to go back to being crazy busy? Because really, what are we really achieving at crazy busy? This is a question I'm asking myself. Do I want to pack my days with so many things, or do I want to take some time out to really slow it down? Yes, slowing it down would mean that probably my deadlines or my projects will get stretched a bit more than what it is now. And that would mean that probably if I was supposed to finish a painting in 2 days, I would take 4 days to do it. Or if I was to write a book in 2 weeks, I would take 4 weeks to do it. But really, does that really matter? So, this is something I would encourage you to think as well. How can you reduce the pace of your lifestyle? Because whether we admit it or not, whether we like it or not, being slow has actually nurtured each of us. We've got more time to rest, we've got more time to indulge in our hobbies, we are connecting with our friends and family more. With friends, because now we have the time to call them up and talk to them, and with our family because they're right there with us at home. Another thing I would like to encourage all of you to do is create more nurturing routines. This is something I've always wanted to do, but never really been consistent at. And by routines, I mean like a morning routine, an afternoon routine, and evening routine. I've just started this morning routine. routine, and that includes I get up in the morning. I try to get up by 5:36 and brush my teeth, change my clothes, and then do a 5 to 10 minutes of uh, meditation. I put on some meditation music, and close my eyes, and try to keep my mind calm. Once that's done, I write in my gratitude journal. I write three things that I'm grateful for that day or the day that went by. And I write a short prayer of what I really would like in my life. And I also add an affirmation of what I would like to attract into my life. Once that's done, I get on with writing my books. I'm writing a nonfiction ebook, a short ebook that I'll have out soon for you. And I've just started work on my very first novel. Yes, I'm terrified, but it's very exciting too. So that's my morning routine. During the afternoon, I rest after lunch and I do some of my social media posts at that time, and I read. If I feel like taking a short nap, I do that too. During the evening, right before bed, I drink a small cup of chamomile tea, which eases my mind and eases my digestion. And after that, I read in bed for a while. I talk to my husband. Or sometimes we just sit and play a board game together, and that's it for the night. So, your morning routine, your afternoon routine, and your night routine can depend on what you want in your life. So, these are just little things which kind of switch us back onto the calm mode and help us uh, pace ourselves through our day. The next thing that I would like to talk about is nurture our homemaking routines and nurture our home. Now, whether we want to admit it or not, most of us who look after our homes are homemakers. Whether we step outside the home for a job, or whether we work from home, or whether we don't hold down a job that brings in money, but we are all homemakers at one level. I've never really thought of homemaking at a very conscious level. It was just something I did. I would cook meals or I would plan the menu and I would make sure that our linen is clean, our bed sheets are changed, but I never really did it very mindfully. It was just something I had to get done. I have always thought of myself more as a work from home professional than really a homemaker. Well, that's true for most of us women in this generation, isn't it? But then I now realize when I slowed down that home really is a place to be savored and something to be cherished and something to be more mindful about. All the things that I was doing in the name of homemaking all these years is something that I can actually streamline a bit more and I can do more consciously. So, for example, yesterday for the first time I had a baking day. I spent the entire day, my husband and I, baking pizza dough and pizza from scratch. We made extra dough to make it to calzones in the morning today, and we baked whole wheat bread. And what else did we do? We made a whole batch of chocolate chip cookies and savory biscuits to last us for the next few days during this week. That was actually much easier than baking every now and then in spurts. So on my baking day, I knew I had placed all my baking items on the counter and I would just go from one activity to the other, maybe with a break. But that day was set aside for baking treats for us. And it really helped. Now, the another thing that I want to implement is a cleaning day when I strip all the beds of the bed sheets and linen and put it in the washing machine for maybe one or two or three loads and get that done on that day. So instead of doing it randomly or whenever I would remember, now I can have a day dedicated for that particular task. Of course, that doesn't mean that you don't do the task on any other day. Now, if I still feel like baking a cake during the week, I'll go ahead and do it. But then, if I have a day for it, it actually helps me streamline and nurture and enjoy the task more. If you have a homemaking routine that you enjoy, or if there's a homemaking routine that you want to implement in your house now, after the slowdown, do share it with me in the comments below. Another thing I want to do is reduce my screen time. I think most of us spend far too much of time scrolling through our social media, WhatsApp messages, and just looking at the screen. This was my New Year's resolution too, to reduce screen time, but it just wasn't happening. Because I also know that people expect a response from you more quickly, which compels us to keep checking our WhatsApp and our social media to respond to people. But during the slow down time, I actually kept my phone in my bag and I would only look at it a few times a day. And really, I didn't miss anything, and nobody who was messaging me missed me really. Because if instead of messaging them back within an hour, if I take 5 hours to message, unless it's really super duper an emergency, it doesn't really matter. An answer can wait for 5 hours, right? So this is something I want to do. And I really hope, I think I will need a lot of self control and self discipline to implement this. But I really hope that I can reduce my screen time. This is something you want to do too, do join me here and let me know how you are reducing your screen time. The last thing that I want to talk about is take this time during the slowdown and then beyond to focus and on your family and nurture your hobbies. You know, now when I look at Facebook or Instagram, I see so many people doing things which they never did before. People are baking more, they're cooking more, they're drawing and painting, even if they've never really picked up a paintbrush or a pencil before. People are also crocheting or learning a new craft. I myself have started learning to crochet and I've started knitting a cowl for my son for the next winter. Now, I love knitting, but the only thing I can knit are scarves, gowns. That's okay with me. After a whole year, I've picked up my knitting needles again and I'm slowly sitting and knitting. I'm also taking the time to do some courses. I'm doing some art courses from this artist called Alyssa Burke. And I'm learning how to teach art classes to small children. There are so many things we can do. But the point is, I just hope that once we get back into our normal, regular, busy life, we don't abandon all the good things that we created during the slow period. I do hope that we take the time to nurture our hobbies and take the time out for our families to sit down and chat without looking at a screen, to sit down and learn something new or start a craft or work with our hands. I think in this generation, what I really miss is this working with our hands thing. Earlier, during our mom's times, people would be knitting, stitching, embroidering, making things with hands, cooking more for their families, but sewing, but now we're not doing any of it. So I really hope that even if life gets back to normal, we kind of hold on to some semblance of slow and do all the things which actually make our life so much richer. What are your plans after you get back from the slowdown? Do share in the comments below. And if there is anything interesting that you plan to do, please share with us. And if you found this video useful, if this made you think and contemplate in any way, do like the video and share it with friends who might find it useful. Subscribe to my channel and I will see you in my next video. Till then, I wish you all the best. I hope you enjoy the slow time and I hope you continue savoring the slow life even when you get back to your routine. Till then, bye bye. See you.